Hey everybody, I'm your guide, and this is the 6th video in a series with more than 150 entries where we'll look at the fascinating and often frightening monsters inscribed in our trusty monster manual. In each video, we'll cover what's in the manual, but also other interesting tidbits I found in my travels. This companion series is meant to educate, entertain, and elevate your excursions into the more dangerous areas of the Forgotten Realms, everywhere from the cemetery behind your local church to the Nine Hells and everywhere in between. And even some places much more interesting. So come, join me, let's begin. You know, I've heard it said that sometimes one setting can change a being over a long enough timeline. That given enough time, beings will adapt to their habitat in an effort to survive, or perhaps the ones unable to adapt just die out. This seems to be more evident when the habitat is somewhat extreme. It tends to force evolution through necessity. Some sages claim that this is precisely what happened to our topic today, the Azer. The story is that long ago, dwarves were all enslaved to giants and titans, meaning that modern dwarves are the descendants of those who escaped captivity, while Azers are the descendants of those who'd remained enslaved. And with them remaining in such an inhospitable climate, they evolved over time to look more like the Azers we know today. But in an effort to be thorough, there are just as many other sages that claim the Azers simply resemble dwarves as a type of facade, that deep down they're simply beings of fire and flame. To be honest, I subscribe to the second description, but the first one is certainly more interesting in my opinion. Azers are beings of the elemental plane of fire, and a proud race of master crafters and miners. They've been called on throughout history to aid in the creation of great magical weapons, art, items, and other wonders. In fact, one of their greatest creations is none other than the City of Brass itself. The Azers created the city after being contracted by the Afridi of the Plane of Fire, and they went on to build a great sprawling metropolis. However, this feat only led them to be betrayed by their employers after having completed the city. The Afridi attempted to enslave the Azers afterwards in an effort to conceal all the secrets of the city, because of course those who built it would know the place in and out. But luckily for the Azer, they fought back and surprisingly won and kept their freedom. But to this day, the Azer and the Afridi remain mortal enemies and still have occasional skirmishes in the Plane of Fire. Nowadays, one can still find the Azer on the Plane of Fire. They dwell in a kingdom on the border between their plane and the elemental plane of Earth, located within a range of mountains and volcanoes whose spires rise up as a series of fortresses. One can also find them under volcanic calderas and amid rivers of magma, sometimes attempting to extract metals and gems from the land. Sometimes one might even come across squads of patrolling Azer who are on guard and looking to fend off the occasional salamander raiders who attempt to strike against their home. As ubiquitous as they sound in this entry, Azers are actually somewhat of a rare sight. They mostly keep to themselves inside their fortresses. They've got access to the most precious metals due to the flowing streams of magma, and using the heat of the volcanoes they temper metal to make incredibly fine blades. So most of the time, Azers simply practice their craft, defend their borders, and well, make more Azers. But not in the way one might expect. All Azers are male and are not actually born. Instead, they're crafted by other Azers with their own unique features and are then imbued by a portion of the crafter's inner flame. This inner flame is believed to be a gift from a deity of the plane which never goes out unless the Azer is killed. Due to this intricate process, the Azer population growth is rather slow, and probably the reason why an Azer sighting is fairly rare. Azer society is best described as communal, as every individual has a place in society and matters of the state are more important than that of the individual. Living within their fortresses, Azer nobles wield absolute power. Their outposts and cities are typically complexes of towers built from basalt, granite, or metal, and within these cities they grow strange trees with metallic bark and leaves. They're omnivorous and speak Common and Ignan, which is just the native tongue of the Plane of Fire. But beyond their tumultuous history, the Azers are a rather innocuous race of creatures and are one of the few entities on the Plane of Fire that won't just attack you on sight. So if you're headed there, I hope these guys are your first and only point of contact. Okay guys, that was the entry on the Azer. After the 9 Hells entry, I was expecting another long one, but the Azer seems pretty straightforward overall. If you look at the next page of your monster manual, you'll see we're finally out of the A's and into the B's with the Banshee. So maybe I can release this one just in time for Halloween. Anyways, this is your guide signing out. Be safe, take care, and happy trails.